The constellation of Bootes has many names. Some call it the ox herd. Others claim that this constellation is Arcus, the son of Callisto, who was transformed into Ursa Major. It is said that when Zeus came to dine with Arcus's grandfather, Lycaon, that Lycaon pretended not to know that Arcus was the child produced by the rape of his daughter, Callisto. As revenge, he chopped the child up and served it to Zeus with other meat to disguise it. Zeus realized that it was his son and destroyed Lycaon's home with a thunderbolt before turning him into a wolf. As for the child, Zeus put him back together and restored his life. In some accounts, Zeus then raised the boy to the heavens. But in others, Zeus did not raise him to the heavens just yet. Rather, the boy was raised by a goat herd and grew to become a skilled hunter. One day, as he hunted in the forest, he spied a bear and, not knowing it was his own mother, who had been transformed into a bear, pursued it. It fled into Zeus's temple, and Arcus followed, not knowing it was forbidden. But Zeus took pity on them and raised them into the heavens. There, Arcus can be seen following the bear, now as its guardian. For that, it was given the name Arctophylax. In other stories, the figure is that of Icarios, the father of Aragon. Because of his righteousness and piety, Dionysus is said to have entrusted the gift of a vine and the knowledge of wine to him, so that he could teach humanity to cultivate the vine, and how to make it into wine once the fruit had grown. After Icarios received the vine from Dionysus, he immediately set to work loading a cart with wineskins. Because of this, he is called Bootes, the ox driver. He then passed through Attica and introduced wine to the shepherds. But some of them, filled with greed and entranced by this new drink, sank to the ground in a stupor. As though half dead, they threw their limbs around and babbled away in an unseemly fashion. Other shepherds, thinking Icarios had given them poison, stole Icarios' flock, killed him, and threw his body into a well, or buried him beneath a tree in another account. However, those that drank of Icarios' wine, when they awoke, declared that they had never enjoyed a better rest, and inquired after Icarios, wanting to reward him for his gift. Icarios' murderers were troubled by their conscience, and immediately fled, making their way to the island of Ceos, where they received a friendly welcome and made their home. However, when Icarios did not return home for days and months, his daughter, Aragon, was about to set off in search of her father when Icarios' dog, named Mayra, returned to her, howling as if it were lamenting the death of its master. This gave Aragon reason to suspect that her father had met his end, and the timid girl could only suppose that he had been killed. The dog grasped her dress, and with its teeth led her to her father's body. At the sight of it, his daughter was filled with despair and, overcome by the thought of her loneliness and destitution, shed many tears of sorrow, and took her own life, hanging herself upon the tree beneath which her father was buried, and the dog too soon followed in death. In another version, she threw herself into the well in which her father's body had been placed. In both versions, Zeus took pity on all three for their misfortune and represented their bodies among the stars. As a result, many identify Icarios as Bootes, Aragon as the maiden, who we shall speak of more later, and Mayra as Canicula, the little dog, known to some as Sirius. According to other accounts, it was Dionysus who represented them among the stars. In another version of Icarios' story, when Dionysus went to teach Icarios' craft, he enjoyed generous hospitality from Icarios and Aragon. As a gift, he gave them a skin filled with wine and told them to spread the knowledge of it to all lands. So, Icarios loaded a wagon and, accompanied by Aragon and Mayra, went to see the shepherds of Attica to show them what pleasures could be found in wine. And when they drank to excess, they believed that Icarios had poisoned them and clubbed him to death. By howling in front of the corpse of Icarios, Mayra showed Aragon where her father's body lay, unburied. When she saw this, she hung herself from a tree above her father's body. In all cases, as a result of these deaths, they were placed among the stars by the will of the gods, and a curse was laid upon Athens. For Aragon, at the time of her death, prayed to the gods that if the Athenians did not investigate the death of her fathers, that the young women of Athens should suffer the same fate as her. When many young girls hung themselves for seemingly no reason, the Athenians consulted with Apollo, who told them of the curse and recommended a way to avoid its effects. Thus it came about that they established the custom of suspending themselves upon a swing as to be moved about like a hanged person. This has since become an annual rite which they celebrate both in public and private, calling it the Eratosthenes, because this is the word for a vagrant or wanderer, which the Athenians believed her father to be because he was unknown and solitary. Furthermore, Canicula is said to bring heat when it first rises, and robbed the territory of Athens and the fields of Scions of their crops, striking the Scions themselves with disease and other sufferings for harboring the murderers of Icarios. The king of the Scions asked Apollo what needed to be done to deliver them from this curse, and Apollo told them to make many sacrifices and pray to Zeus that, when Canicula were to rise, he should cause a wind to blow for 40 days to temper its head. The Saiyan king fulfilled these orders and obtained this favor from Zeus, who caused the winds known as the Etesian winds to blow. According to Hermippos, the origin of the constellation is thus. When Demeter slept with Iason, son of Theseus, 2 sons were born of that liaison, Philomelos and Plautus, who are said to have been on bad terms with one another, for Plautus, who was the richer, was unwilling to share any of his wealth with his brother. Under forced necessity, Philomelos scraped together all that he possessed to buy 2 oxen, and was the first to construct a wagon, allowing him to support himself by plowing and cultivating the fields. In admiration for his invention, his mother, Demeter, placed him among the constellations in the form of a plowman and called him Bootes. He arrives at the horizon well upright on his feet, but can be seen rising obliquely at greater speed along with the claws. On his left hand, he has 4 stars, and he has 1 star on his head, 1 on each shoulder, 1 on each nipple, that with the right being brighter and standing above the other, which is faint, 1 on each foot, and a bright star on his right elbow, and 1 either on his belt or between his knees, which is brighter than all the others, and which is known as Arcturus. Are you interested in the mythology of the classical constellations? Then be sure to subscribe for more, as I'll be going through them all.